Now, when you look into HRM, we always believe that we cannot work in isolation. So whenever you join an organization, you're going to be paid for your skills rather than your just education qualification. The organization is not transforming you towards the effectiveness. You're not challenging yourself to become better. Good morning and welcome to the first session in fourth semester BBA Human Resource Management, where we're going to talk about Introduction to Human Resource Management. Now, HRM as a subject has always been very interesting. Why? Because we are talking about people, the very same people who've been managing the organizations, who have been leading them to success, and who have been creating history year after year. So when we talk about HRM, we always believe in this philosophy that it's the people who build the organization, who retain the organization consciously or unconsciously. They are the winners who make the organizations lead from the front. Now, when you look into HRM, we always believe that we cannot work in isolation. We are all people who join hands together, who work as team, and who combine our vision, our energy, our thought process so that we are able to create something purposeful for the organization and take it to the next level. So as we start going into the HRM, the first question that anybody would like to ask is, what is HRM all about? It's a study of activities regarding people working in an organization. It is a managerial function that tries to match an organization needs to skills and abilities of the employees. So as HR, whenever we talk about human resource management, we need to understand it very, very critically. Why? Because as human beings, we have a set of skills, we have a set of abilities that actually distinguishes us from others. So whenever you join an organization, you're going to be paid for your skills rather than your just education qualification. So when you join an organization, people look at your skills and abilities that can transform the organization, that can build a better vision, that can carry forward the mission to the next league altogether. So the study of the skill sets, the study of your abilities, the study of your capabilities to work as a team and take it forward, that's where HRM comes in as an important subject. Moving further, let's try to understand the nature of HRM all here. Now, the main thing is we recruit, we select, we train, we develop members of the organization. Quite but natural. Yes, the primary function of human resources is that whenever you need people, you're going to recruit people, you're going to train them, you're going to make them work according to the needs of the organization. Nobody is going to dispute on that factor. But when we come to the core application, the first thing that I would always like to talk about is maintaining, providing remuneration, and developing the people. People do not work for charity. People are going to work for money. There is a cost to the organization. So it's up to the organization that they decide the pay scale of any people here. The reason is quite simple. Anybody who joins an organization comes with a set of expectations. And when the expectations are not being matched, automatically he quits the organization. On the other way, if the organization is able to exceed his expectation, if it's able to provide a path filled with benefits, give him full of surprises, and take him forward as a resourceful employee, automatically that person transforms the organization just like a magic. So that's where I would say that HRM as a subject is very, very interesting. And when you start looking into the application aspect, the main thing is that how you are able to transform your strength, your core area, that is your human resource, into the most able workforce. Now, moving further, we will talk about the decision relating to employees must be integrated. Decisions of different aspects of the employees must be consistent enough. And we're also going to talk about the influence towards the effectiveness of the organization. Now, when we look at these 2 points, there are 2 distinct points altogether. One, I'm going to talk about relating to the employees need to be integrated. An organization does not take any decision in silos. Whenever we make a decision, we make it because it's on the benefit for all ratio. So whenever we decide on a policy, whether it be on the good side or on the bad side, a positive, negative, or on a neutral stand, whatever we are going to take forward here, we need to understand that the decision remains consistent among all the hundreds and thousands of employees who work in the same organization. So decision making requires an amount of skill, and the most important thing is that are you able to stick to your decision? That matters a lot. So what we do initially is that we start understanding how a decision will make an impact towards an employee. So when you're going to say to a person that this particular decision, let's say that we're going to make a decision regarding your work timings, we're going to make a decision regarding your canteen facilities, or we're going to make a decision regarding your PF or other remuneration packages. Then what happens here is that you need to understand the impact that is going to cause among the vertical. Across the vertical, you need to understand that people are going to get impacted. So we need to make a decision that is consistent, that is stable, and that does not affect the mindset of the employee on the negative side. It needs to create a positive impact. So decision should not be hurting. Decision should not go against the employees. That's very, very important. So we need to be consistent in making a decision. Now, the next thing is that we start going forward in terms of influence of effectiveness towards the organization. Now, effectiveness, the word itself, will result in betterment of services towards customer in the form of high quality. The word effectiveness is very, very important. Why? Because we all do work, no doubt about it. We all work in an organization from 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, whatever is the timing. But then at the end of the day, when you walk out of the office, ask yourself this simple question: what did you do today to transform yourself better? What was that small micro level work that you did that can create an impact towards your customers, towards your stakeholders? And if the answer is no, that means the organization is not transforming you towards the effectiveness. You're not challenging yourself to become better. Now that's why HRM comes with a great amount of factors that transform the employee towards that effectiveness zone. Now, as an employee, I always think that my job is only to work for that 9 hours and then get back home. Now, that is not exactly what organization wants. Organization doesn't want you to just clock the number of hours. Organization wants you to think every minute that you spend inside the organization, what is that productive work? What is that effectiveness? What do you bring to the table? What do you really do in order to transform this business look more effective? That's where effectiveness comes in, by an ability to manage the human resources better. Now, they are not confined to business establishment, but applicable to non-business establishment like education, healthcare, recreation. Now, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All of us know this proverb. But then coming back to this philosophy, it also applies to all the employees in the organization. And if you're going to just talk about business, you're just going to talk about targets, you're going to talk about sales figures, or you're going to talk about attrition rate, people are not going to listen to you every day. So somewhere down the lane, you need to bring in the concept of fun. You need to bring in the concept of non-working atmosphere. So somewhere you would also like to talk about your career growth. You would also like to talk about certain recreation facilities. You'd also like to talk about some healthcare plans. Why these things are bought in is that because of the care that you take towards your employees. Every step that you take towards your employees is a green tick on your balance sheet. That is going to tell you that your employees are going to stick with you for a longer time, and they are going to be there to take the organization to the next league, to the next level as far as possible. Now, everybody believes that organization is not just about managing people, but it's about making the people better from yesterday. So that's why I would always say that you need to mix sometimes the non-business activity on a regular scale. Try to make your employee feel comfortable and also confident about the factor that the organization is taking care about you. Followed by which, let's talk about the scope of HRM. That's a major thing that we are talking about here, where we start about from the working life, from the time of his or her entry into the organization and till he leaves the organization. Now, when I talk about the scope of HRM, probably sky is the level I would like to say about it. But nevertheless, what happens is that HRM does not try to hold itself. Now, normally people believe that HRM's job or the HR manager's job is all about talking on the pay slips or about interviews or about recruiting and then selecting people. But let us try to understand that HR is the core vertical of the organization, and it horizontally spreads its wings across the organization. So that means to say, right from the job analysis, design to employee hiring, executive remuneration, and that of motivation maintenance, everything comes under the HRM perspectives. Sometimes we feel that why are we so concerned, so bothered about HR? But then the fact remains fact. Why? Because you need to understand that HR is the person who's going to know in and out about you, and he is going to take you through the organization trying to build the entire setup. Now let's move further. Now try to understand that the scope of HRM moves into the lines of operations, practices, functions, activities, methods related to management as people or the people as employees in any type of organization. So whatever you are prescribed in an organization, the way to do a work, how it needs to be done, all those things come under the perspective of that particular HRM. So it's very, very important that we do this. Now, all dimensions related to the people in their employment relationship and all the dynamics flow into it. Now, this word is quite important. All the dynamics flow into it. So when I use the word dynamics, why? Because HRM is not something that we are talking about only in terms of the factors of the pay scale slip or, talking about the recruitment and your appointment letters. But HRM is also trying to make you understand how well you get adjusted to the organization, how well the role of an employee flows seamlessly into the organization. So that's very, very important for all of us. And that's how we simply talk about this concept of HRM here. Now, the objectives. The first one is human capital. The first time we are going to listen to this word. Why this is very important? Why? Because the right number of people needed to fulfill the strategic and operational objectives. So as we talk about financial capital, we also talk about human capital. We need the right kind of people in the right number and at the right size. Why? Because then only organization will be able to fulfill the ideas, the objectives altogether. It also helps an organization climate. When I say the word climate, which means it encourages the employee to develop and utilize their skills to their fullest, employ the skills to the best. And also, let's understand that when you have a right kind of climate and atmosphere inside the organization, I think the workforce will also be able to do well and they'll be able to take it forward. Now, to help maintaining performance standards, increase the productivity through effective job design, everything is one of the most core functions that we have been talking about. The most important thing is that providing adequate orientation, performance-related feedback becomes a very important part of HRM. Whenever we do work, we also expect that somebody comes and gives us good feedback, motivates us, tells us that we are doing a great job. So let's take it forward and let's try to build it. So that's very, very important here. Helping to establish and maintain a harmonious employer-employee relationship is something very, very important these days, and helping to create and maintain a safe, healthy work environment. This is also needed. Why? Because we try to understand how organizations try to build, how organizations try to go forward. So at any given point of time, what we need to do here is that as the core functions of HR, we are going to rule this entire function by understanding the scope far better. We need to see that HRM as a function tries to reach every corner of the organization, not only in terms of just assisting the employee, but also providing him a complete roadmap of how the employee should fit into the organization, how he needs to get adjusted to the work, how he needs to behave in the work environment, what are his targets, what are his nature of job, how he needs to accomplish it, where he needs feedback, where he needs assistance. Everything comes under the objective of HRM. Now, followed by which we also talk about the functions of HRM. So one of the primary function, I would say that as an important role to play in equipping the organization to manage all the challenges. Now, all of us know that we are a part of a system where AI is threatening us. But nevertheless, as HR, you need to get yourself ready to whatever challenges that come to the environment. So gearing up to the challenge, very much important. Increase in staff numbers. So whenever you want more workforce, you should be in a position to take it up. The functions are responsive to the current staffing. It needs to be very, very proactive. And it also needs to look in such a way that you don't wait for things to happen. Rather, you move forward and make things happen. Now, the role of HRM is to develop, administer policies and program designed for the optimum use of organizations' human resources. That is very, very important. Now, normally people believe that there are no work hours. See, we design work hour by saying that 9 to 6, 9 to 5, some numbers. But then if you officially look into the rule book of the HR, there is no rule that states that the employees need to work only for a certain number of hours. There can be flexible working condition, there can be extended working condition, there can be a work from home, there can be a work from a remote place. There are multiple ways of working. But what is important for an organization is to see that when we have 100 people working in an organization, are you able to utilize all these 100 people to the best level possible? Which means the optimum use of the human resources to the organization is highly recommended. Followed by which you need to understand people at work with the relationship within the enterprise. Now that is important. When people are working together, it's quite common that we might land up into gossips and politics. It's quite normal altogether. And at the same time, there might be difference of opinion between you and your boss. But at the end of the day, we don't want this thing to blow up to a certain extent that the entire organization gets shattered. Rather, we want a healthy relationship between the employer and the employee, trying to understand the organization, work towards for the betterment. And at the same time, we also want you to understand that when we iron out all the differences between the employees, automatically you are able to understand the vision better, so you would be able to perform your job better. So the role of HR is to remove the differences and bring in more of equality so that everybody gets a chance to be a part of the organization's success. Now, the other thing which I would always say is that its effective utilization is there, which is very, very important. The desirable working relationship among the people, maximum individual development. So as a person, you need to see that are you getting this individual development covered? If it is not getting covered, then you are not a part of the organization. You will quit immediately. You will say that, sir, I'm not working into a particular zone. I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling satisfied. So automatically, you need to see that you are getting the best coverage as far as possible. And with that, the human resource functions as primarily administrative and professional. The HR staff focused on administrating beliefs and other payrolls also understand that this is very, very important. Why? Because at every level, HRM plays a very vital part in making the organization's employee do their work and get the best result out of them. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the facts and figures that we have spoken through this session would be of a great help to you, both in terms of theory as well as in the practical walk of life. In the upcoming session, we are going to go into a deep dive session into the functions of human resource management. We're going to learn more about the functionalities in different and wider aspects altogether. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and you have a great day ahead. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.